Good evening, Facebook. Skip Bayless coming to you live once again from Century City, Los Angeles, California. As I look out my patio deck here at the sun setting over the Pacific, we're a short drive from the Fox lot, where every morning, 9:30 to noon Eastern Time, we do Undisputed. Shannon Sharp and Joy and I do Undisputed, and we will be on again tomorrow. But first up, I need to preview tonight's Cowboy-Detroit game, and tell you what I think Jerry Jones would like to do with one Tony Romo. But before I get to the Cowboys and maybe a little Patriots and maybe even a quick shot and thought about the Cavs-Warriors game yesterday, I have to bring back someone that we've had before on the broadcast live here. Last Thursday night, I debuted the newest member of the Bayless family. Her name is Hazel, and she's back again. Say hello again to my little new friend, Hazel. Hi, Hazel. How you doing? Hazel was so good last Thursday night, that I am told she's about to get her own show on Fox Sports 2. So look for that in the future. Uh-oh, she's not in a happy... Oh, she's biting me. Hazel, you got to calm down. And Hazel is wearing, stop it, a new Christmas gift. Thank you. And she's not real happy about it. Let me see if I can pull it down so you can see it. She got her first Spurs paraphernalia. If you can see this, property of the San Antonio Spurs. And Hazel is wearing that. She's not real pleased with it, and I don't blame her, but it's okay. But thank you, Tyler, for this great gift. Hazel, thanks you. And by the way, my wife Ernestine told me that this morning Hazel was watching Undisputed, and after one outrageous and inane statement that Shannon Sharp made, Hazel barked. She actually barked at the screen, so she's already into it. And look at her gnawing on me. I'm wounded in several places here. Hazel, believe it or not, is extremely quick, takes after me, right? And shockingly strong and feisty. And by the way, I think she could outrun Shannon, oh God, in the 40 already. So this is Hazel. I think she's had enough. Her mom is requesting her back so that her mom can play with her, because she's been napping and she's out of her mind. Yeah, she is going to watch the game with me tonight. Now, on to my Dallas Cowboys. Quick thoughts on what I thought maybe Jerry Jones would want to do tonight. I thought this would be the perfect opening for Jerry Jones, with the equivalent of two sort of preseason games now for the Cowboys to play now that they've clinched home field and a bye all the way through to the Super Bowl, potentially two home games to get to Houston, Texas, to play a Super Bowl. I thought that Jerry would seize the day in the opening to play Tony Romo maybe for the second half tonight. I've had two plugged-in Cowboy sources tell me today that is not even being discussed, that Jerry Jones has not butted in, so to speak, that he has not interjected his thoughts into the coaching process as of yet. Now, maybe that changed, I don't know, this afternoon. That was as of this morning, that Tony Romo wasn't scheduled to play at all tonight. I will believe that when I see it, because I thought that Jerry would seize the opportunity to prove to the world that he did the right thing a couple of years back when he gave Tony Romo $108 million and $55 million guaranteed, and against the grain, maybe against the odds, basically told Cowboy Nation and the NFL world, I can go win a Super Bowl with Tony Romo. All of a sudden, Dak Prescott falls in Jerry's lap. Jerry obviously wanted to draft Paxton Lynch or Connor Cook. Boom, thank you, God, here came Dak Prescott, and put Jerry in position to do something that he obviously hasn't done since the 1995 season, and that is win a Super Bowl. Heck, even get to the Super Bowl. And Jerry's legacy is now on the line. Jerry's up for a Hall of Fame possible induction, and this would be the capper, the exclamation point to his career. And once upon a time, as we all remember, I was there, wrote 3 books about it, Jerry got off to a sensational all-time great start in the National Football League, of course, with Jimmy Johnson. They won 2 together. Then he fired Jimmy for insubordination, just because Jimmy just couldn't accept the fact that Jerry Jones would take any credit for those early Cowboys. And after 2 straight Super Bowls, fired Jimmy. And after making the statement that 500 coaches could win a Super Bowl with this team, I think Jerry at that point picked the 501st coach on his list, one Barry Switzer. Obviously, Jerry played at Arkansas, as did Barry, and brought him to Dallas after Barry had been out of football for 3 years, hadn't coached a down in the National Football League. The first year ended up being a debacle at San Francisco when they blew the NFC Championship game, fell behind 21-0, rallied back. One of the great games, obviously, actually, that I've ever watched, because that's the one game I would have paid to see. Michael Irvin going against Deion Sanders down 21-0, where Deion knew every other play was coming to Michael Irvin. Great game to watch. Cowboys blew it in the end. Barry Switzer got a stupid penalty when Deion deserved the penalty because he did interfere with Michael. That's a whole other issue. But now Jerry Jones has come full circle with the chance to prove to the world, I can do this with Tony Romo. And I thought he would start proving it by insisting, by decreeing within the organization, Tony will play tonight. No matter what the circumstance in the second half, he will play. I'm being told that is not going to happen. That makes me ecstatic because it should not happen. Dak Prescott should play all 4 quarters tonight, unless, of course, the game gets way out of hand one way or way out of hand the other way. And I believe that Dak should play maybe 3 quarters, at least a half, at Philly in the finale next week. The thing that I love Jerry saying so far, he said it twice now publicly in the last few days, is they blew it in 2007 when they also clinched home field in a bye through the playoffs with the 2 potential home games by resting too many starters too quickly, and he felt like they weren't quite up to speed for an Eli Manning and company coming to what was then, of course, Texas Stadium, playing at a high level because they were winning games. You had won a playoff game on the road. They proceeded to win another playoff game on the road. And here they went to the Super Bowl instead of Dallas. And Jerry said he learned a lesson, just play. And the one thing I have learned in I'm losing track, 35 years of covering the National Football League is that your odds of getting hurt are highest when you're trying not to get hurt. When you're playing not to, so to speak, lose, not to get hurt, you somehow shift down a gear and you put yourself more in harm's way than you would at any other time. So I'm with Jerry on this one. Play all out, play your starters, let the chips fall. It's a dangerous game, it's an injurious game. We saw what happened to Mariota. God bless him, and God bless Derek Carr. We saw what happened. To me, it's just going to happen here and there, unpredictably, uncontrollably. You just play. And obviously, the Cowboys do have great insurance. God forbid, I'm knocking on wood right now. If Dak Prescott did get nicked, instead of hurt, let's just say nicked, they do have Tony Romo waiting in the wings. He's obviously, as Jerry says, ready to go, and that would be fine. But that locker room is built around Dak Prescott. The momentum and the chemistry and the unity of this team is built around Dak Prescott. Obviously, Ezekiel in the mix. They're sort of co-stars this year. But if you can please explain to me how on the Vegas odds board there are 8 candidates now listed for NFL MVP, and Dak Prescott is not one of those 8, you're way ahead of me, because I still have Dak number 2 on my MVP board to Tom Brady, who's having, I think, arguably his greatest year at age 39. And I must admit, I'm rooting for Tom Brady to get even with Roger Goodell for framing him and railroading him through Deflategate with the Wells Report and trying to punish Brady, to sacrifice Brady's legacy to punish the Patriots for their history of cheating. And now Brady, after fighting City Hall successfully at a couple of levels, finally had to give up because time ran out. It was time for the season to start. And he said, okay, you got me, City Hall. I give up. I give in. I'll take my 4 games, but I'm not going to admit any fault here. I'm not going to admit 1 ounce of cheating, because I believe with all my heart and soul Tom Brady did not cheat. He asked the equipment people to deflate the footballs to the lower level of what was legal. Period. End of story. And that's all he knew. So he fought until he couldn't fight anymore. It was time for the season to start. He was becoming a distraction for his team. So he said, I'll take the 4 games, and then I will get you Roger Goodell. He's on a mission to show up Roger Goodell and to force Roger Goodell to hand him the Super Bowl trophy. I believe Tom Brady will accomplish that. So at 25 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, wow, that's a year. And with the highest QBR, my favorite stat, a quarterback stat, 0 to 100, Tom Brady's leading all NFL quarterbacks so far in QBR. I would take that to the bank. But Dak has hung at 1, 2, or 3 the whole year, and he has changed the culture of the Dallas Cowboys. There's no way they would be in this position tonight, having clinched, without Dak Prescott. Quarterback is the far harder position to play than running back. The quickest position to translate into the NFL, and I've seen it again and again, which is why I believe it's unconstitutional to keep kids from coming straight to the NFL from high school football. Someday somebody will beat that system. I know Maurice Claret tried, but again, an Ezekiel Elliott at 18, you don't think he could have made it in pro football? I think he would be having almost the same impact now that he would have had 18 as he was having now. So the point is, I give Zeke a lot of credit for what's happened, but it all starts with the quarterback position. Both guys obviously benefit from the best offensive line in football, but in the end, it's the quarterback's game. And how Dak Prescott is getting no respect is driving me crazy. He gets no respect from anybody else on Undisputed. Again, 9:30 to noon Eastern time if you haven't checked it out on Fox Sports 1. And maybe tonight he'll gain a little more respect. Maybe he'll gain a little bit more if he plays at Philadelphia, and I think he will. Maybe he'll gain a lot more when he wins his first playoff game at Jerry World. He is the driving force of this team. He's changed the way everyone views football in this locker room. He's trustable in ways that Tony Romo was never quite trustable. And I was always on and off a Romo fan. I didn't like the Jessica Simpson days. I didn't like the hat on backward days. I didn't love the Terrell Owens connection days. I didn't love those teams. I didn't like that 2007 team. In fact, I forfeited my fanship for a while back in that period just because I can't stand Terrell Owens, and I couldn't believe Jerry brought him to Dallas. But speaking of Tony Romo, I remember the last time Detroit visited for a regular season game. You longtime Cowboy fans are going to remember this one. Do you remember back in 2011 when Matt Stafford from Highland Park High School, Dallas product obviously, brought Megatron, Calvin Johnson, to Jerry World? Do you remember that game? Dallas led that game 27-3. True story. After Dallas scored the 27 touchdown to go up 27-3 in the third quarter and made Detroit punt back to them, so they had the ball back at 27-3. Ernestine and I were watching the game in the living room. I was then living in New York City, and I said, you know, I need to use the restroom. And I went to the restroom for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and I came back and glanced at the screen, and I said, wait a second, how did it suddenly get to 27-10? I thought maybe I had missed something earlier or I'd just gotten distracted. I didn't know. Tony Romo threw a pick six to a guy who I know pretty well named Bobby Carpenter. You remember him. Cowboy fans is a Bill Parcells high first round or mid first round draft pick, but a high pick by Bill Parcells. Never quite lived up to that. Bobby's a great guy and was a talent, just never could quite find his niche. At that point, he had bounced around from Dallas to Detroit, was kind of on his last legs. And as I looked at the replay of that interception, Bobby was in, let's see, which way was it? Tony was in Bobby's wedding, so they're very close, and they remained very close. And it dawned on me, it almost looked like Tony Romo had thrown a gift to Bobby Carpenter, up 27-3. Here, I'll throw one in the flat that you might be able to grab and run with just so that you can cement your spot on the Lions roster. And Bobby grabbed it, and Bobby ran with it for 6 points, 7 points after they kicked the point. And all of a sudden, it was 27-10. I asked Bobby about that on the air the next day, and he admitted on the air, back on my old show, that, believe it or not, he wondered the same thing. And believe it or not, he went home that night after they got back to Detroit and watched the replay, the tape, just to see if it looked like Tony might have thrown him a gift. And he wasn't sure at that point, but I've always wondered, did Tony think he could get away with helping Bobby? I know that's an outrageous thought, but Bobby Carpenter had the same one. Subsequently, about 2 minutes later, Tony, and I'm pretty sure he didn't intend this one for anybody, it was just a mistake, threw another pick six, and all of a sudden, Detroit's back in the game. Then it goes back and forth. There was a field goal by Dan Bailey that put Dallas up, I think, 30-17. And then here came Stafford throwing to Megatron, and all of a sudden, Detroit stole the game back and won against Tony Romo in Dallas thanks to one more interception late to Stephen Tulloch. And that was the vintage Romo game where he threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. That's what I never liked about Tony Romo. So, to wind this up, I love this position Dallas is in tonight. I believe that if my sources are correct, Romo will not play a down tonight, and I will be extremely happy about that because it's shaping up for meant-to-be season for the Dallas Cowboys as well as for the New England Patriots. Things keep breaking right. Seattle has now lost 2 games in December, and that's a bad sign for Seattle. Without Earl Thomas, they're not the same. They gave up, they were down 31-18 at home the other day, so they've lost a home game, giving up 34 total points. Bad sign. Green Bay has the 22nd ranked defense in pro football. Dallas already won up there 30-16. Atlanta, Matt Ryan's had a phenomenal year. They have the 25th ranked defense in pro football. I don't think Dallas would have any trouble playing keep away from Matt Ryan or from Aaron Rodgers. So I like Dallas's chances. I hope it's all Dak tonight. I'm looking at him getting ready here during the national anthem. I appreciate you hanging with me. Thank you, Hazel, for another cameo here from the Bayless household, the Bayless bungalow in Century City, California. And please follow us follow us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1. Follow us on Twitter at Undisputed. And tune in tomorrow, please, Undisputed, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. I will see you then. And how about those Cowboys?